According to the history of the University of Wisconsin, when architect Frank Lloyd Wright was waiting to receive an honorary degree from the university, he suddenly decided he didn't want it, and he tried to leave. According to legend, he had to be pushed onto stage to get his honorary doctorate degree. I'm hoping you're not going to need that much convincing this morning. I'm delighted to welcome you to the University of Wisconsin's winter commencement. I want to extend a special welcome to the families and friends of our graduates, to the faculty, staff, and distinguished guests. But above all, I want to welcome and congratulate the graduates who are being honored here today, and I'd like to ask everyone to give them a huge round of applause for their achievement. Today, you're graduating from one of the world's finest research universities, and your degree has great value. Higher education has never been more important in this country or in the world as a whole, and a university degree has never been more valuable. Over time, it will acquire even more value, not only for you, but for your community. This makes your education one of the wisest investments you could ever have made, and I want you to remember that when you start paying off your student loans. Your degree has great value because this university has a world-class faculty and strong research and educational programs. The amount of research funding that our faculty are awarded each year puts us second or third in the country, including all private and public universities. In fact, our faculty bring in over $900 million a year in research funding, and that has an economic multiplier effect for our state that is extraordinary. Many of those in this audience who are graduate students and even some undergraduates have actually been funded by that external research support, have participated in cutting-edge research, and have even made some of your own breakthroughs, and we congratulate you. According to credible international rankings, UW-Madison is one of the world's great global universities. In fact, by Shanghai Xiaotang rankings in China, UW-Madison is considered to be 17th in the world, including all public and private universities. That's testimony to the investment that the citizens of Wisconsin have made over 150 years. For a state of such modest population and historically modest wealth, to have had the discipline to build one of the world's great universities is extraordinary, and we owe a lot to the citizens of the state of Wisconsin. The quality and breadth of this university make it possible for us to do extraordinary things. For example, to undertake large collaborative projects in search of answers to some of the world's most complicated problems. I think most of you know that UW-Madison is a powerhouse in biotechnology. And the university has launched a major campus-wide global health initiative that will combine our strengths in medicine, pharmacy, nursing, public health, international studies, environmental studies, economics, and other fields in order to do what we can to contribute to solutions to global health problems. There's a major sustainability initiative underway on the campus that draws on the talents of faculty, staff, and students in a range of colleges working on alternate energy sources, environmental preservation, climate change, next-generation engines, and much, much more. While our staff charged with responsibility for practicing what we preach are creating new measures and new technologies on our own campus. Faculty here are collaborating with their peers at Michigan and Illinois, using regenerative medicine to treat veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, especially veterans with craniofacial and orthopedic problems. One of our historians has developed a grand strategy course, which serves military personnel via distance learning, but also serves our undergraduates in a seminar that includes traditional forms of pedagogy on international relations, but also allows our undergraduates to interact with military personnel who are developing grand strategy on the ground. And in one of our most impressive efforts, one that I like especially, the so-called Ice Cube project, we have scientists and engineers right now at the South Pole. And what are they doing at the South Pole at this time? They're drilling holes into the ice to depths of 1,500 to 2,500 feet, where they're placing optical sensors that were designed and built right here at UW-Madison. And what will those optical sensors do? They'll study neutrinos. Do you know what neutrinos are? No, I didn't either. They're subatomic particles that are produced by the decay of radioactive elements. And they're very difficult, in fact, have been impossible to register or to study. They leave no traces. The sensors that are far below the surface of the ice won't actually study neutrinos because they can't be studied. They'll study collisions. From what we know today, a majority of the neutrinos, which are the smallest, they're called the most tiny quantity of reality ever imagined by human beings. So neutrinos are the most tiny quantity of reality ever imagined by a human being. And from what we know today, a majority of the neutrinos floating around were born 15 billion years ago, soon after the birth of the universe. So the Ice Cube project, which is a large collaborative project of UW-Madison scientists, engineers, and staff, has the potential to make discoveries that explain the origins of the universe. Nothing less than that. And those projects that are being conducted at UW-Madison by individuals, apparently smaller projects, prize-winning novels that are being written, internationally acclaimed musical performances, scholarship of all sorts, the mastery of languages and cultures, are no less important than these major large scientific projects. Now, many of those of you, as I said before, who are getting degrees today have been directly involved in many of these projects, have contributed your own original research, and the university is better for the work you've done while you were here, and we thank you for it. It's difficult to get into UW-Madison, and it takes hard work to complete a degree. I hope you won't take the work you've done and what you've achieved for granted. I hope you take genuine pride in where you are today. Everybody else here is extraordinarily proud of what you've achieved. Now, you're a very impressive generation of young people and collection of students. Some of you look surprised when I said that. The University of Wisconsin is second only to Harvard in the number of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies it has produced. And it's also among the leaders in volunteers to the Peace Corps and Teach for America. I think we're all proud that the University of Wisconsin is among the leaders in both ways, and that the diversity of the campus, its breadth and scope, and the caliber of our students means that we can lead in such varied pursuits as business on the one hand and community service on the other. Author Donna Fenn, who was on campus this fall, has interviewed dozens of people your age who are entrepreneurs. And she's found that you are starting companies at a very rapid rate and that your approach to business is unlike anything the corporate world has ever seen. She writes that your generation is highly collaborative, team-oriented, quick to adapt to new technologies, impatient with old business models, and determined to change the world. I hope that's true of you. It certainly seems true of those of you I've gotten to know over the past year and a half. And your desire to shake things up is not limited to starting businesses and making money. There's so many examples I could list of your entrepreneurial activity on behalf of social causes. A group of UW-Madison public affairs students, for example, started a group entitled EDGE Project to do international community development work in Uganda. They built a grain mill, created a farmers co-op, and started a girls' soccer team. And all of these projects were major developments on an island that is all but forgotten by its own government. That's just one example of your initiative and your humanity. But all of you, regardless of level, whether you're getting a PhD, a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, are entering a world full of problems and entering a very difficult job market. And many of you are going to experience frustrations, and you're going to have to draw on stores of patience and faith. You're also going to need to continue enhancing your skills and your knowledge, not only in the short term, but in the long term, throughout your lives, as innovation and globalization continue to change economies, the world of work, and the social world we live in. You've inherited very complicated problems, and what I hope is that you let your thinking and your approach to those problems be open, creative, collaborative, integrated, and both context and data-driven. Being context and data-driven seems an increasingly lost art in the culture's approach to problems. I hope it's not lost on you. While you were here, we had a snow day. Yeah. Now, I want to be clear and say that we did not cancel classes or close the university so we could have snowball fights or build giant snowballs on University Avenue, or so you could have parties that lasted into the early morning. We didn't even cancel classes so some of you could write final papers and study harder for your exams, which many of you told me you did. I believed you. We closed the university because it was clear on Tuesday evening that it wasn't going to be safe for staff, faculty, or students to travel to the campus on Wednesday morning. Nonetheless, the snow day gave rise to a wide range of activities that I think some of us will remember for a very long time, some more responsible than others. Images of the snowball fight are going to linger in my mind forever. I took my dog, Oscar Meyer Martin, to Bascom Hill to witness the event, and it was extraordinarily beautiful. And why was it so beautiful? It was a pure joy to see so many exuberant students and quite a number of exuberant dogs in every imaginable color of coat, hat, and glove, covering Bascom Hill with motion and energy and friendship and laughter and lots of snowballs. Not everything went smoothly while I was watching. There were several people with bloody noses who were using the icy snowballs to help stop the bleeding. And I'm sure there were more injuries than I saw, but there was so much delight on so many faces. A snow day is an unexpected gift, it turns out, a surprising opportunity. It allowed for the break in routine and a different experience of time. Freedom from the everyday, it allowed some people to rest and study and finish papers, some a chance to reflect, and other ways to invent fun. What made it delightful for me after the consequential decision to close the campus and cancel classes was the variety of your responses, your work, your pleasure in one another, your seriousness, and your gratitude. There was something extraordinary in the simplicity of a snow day and a snowball fight. Your capacity for intellectual achievement and your hard work combined with your spirited sense of fun at UW-Madison to provide the rest of us with many occasions for pleasure and also for hope. Your friendliness, your openness, your sense of community give me hope that the enormous problems of the world can be addressed intelligently and with human decency. A well-developed sense of play within the bounds of responsibility to oneself and others is a great gift, and it's often an underrated gift. Play is closely related to curiosity, and curiosity combined in the right ways with discipline and knowledge is essential to creativity and discovery. So I urge you to find snow days for yourself throughout your lives and to create snow days for others. I don't mean it literally, but I do mean it figuratively. At the top of Bascom Hill, Abraham Lincoln, the statue, oversaw the snowball fight, just as Abraham Lincoln has watched over everything from student protests to pink flamingos and ice storms for many, many years. It's a graduation tradition to climb up on Abe Lincoln and tell him your aspirations. I don't know how many of you will decide to do that in today's weather. Obviously, we owe a great deal to Abraham Lincoln. It goes without saying that the preservation of the Union and the end of slavery are the most important. But there's a contribution that Lincoln made that's closer to home that's often not appreciated adequately. And that is that he approved the legislation that allowed for the expansion of universities in the United States at the end of the Civil War universities that would teach more than traditional scientific and liberal arts disciplines. The Morrill Act allowed for the creation of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the purpose of the Morrill Act that Lincoln signed was to create universities that would be devoted to the needs of what he called the laboring classes, at the time, those in agriculture and the mechanic arts or engineering. The statue of Abe Lincoln was given to the university so that generations of students could be inspired by his example and for the responsibility he assumed to expand higher education. When it was unveiled, this statue, Lincoln was quoted as having said the following: "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live up to what light I have. Be true, live up to what light you have, and that will be success not only for you, but for the rest of us." Congratulations, and on Wisconsin.